and this will all be uploaded onto our NHS Futures workspace, which is supported by breast champions across England, Ireland, Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland. So without further ado, I think we'll get started. Our first speaker tonight is the fantastic Christina Malamantenio. Now, Christina's repertoire really is extensive. She is a leading academic in radiography, and she's currently serving as director of the postgraduate programme at University of London and City St George's. With over 100 publications, which is massive, and extensive research funding, her expertise spans artificial intelligence adoption, person-centred care and imaging, and education for the radiography workforce. Christina chairs key advisory groups, including the Society of Radiographers AI Group, the European Federation of Radiographer Societies Research Committee, and her career is marked by influential research, a commitment to collaborative and compassionate practice, and leadership in supporting colleagues through technological and social change. So we're delighted to have you here, Christina, and I'll let you take over. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dear Noelle, and thank you to the Breast Imaging Special Interest Group for the invitation and the hosting of this webinar. I hope you can see my screen okay in full screen. Okay, so Noelle and BSIG have asked me to speak about getting ready for AI, how is radiography impacted, and I have here all my hats as director of the CRAC Research Group, as a board member of USOMI, which is a multidisciplinary society, and recently appointed chair of the FRS AI working group. These are my conflicts of interest. So the objectives of tonight's webinar is to speak a bit about our centering point, which is our professional identity around which everything revolves and how this might change with AI. Introduce some AI tools that come into radiography, opportunities and challenges of AI in our discipline, and particularly speak about getting ready for AI through AI training, but also AI governance. So our professional identity is quite important because this is the relatively stable and enduring constellation of attributes, beliefs, values, motives, and experiences in terms of which people define themselves in a professional role. And to make it very simply, this is the way that professionals see themselves in terms of who they are and what they do. When new technology is adopted, professionals must often reconfigure their professional roles and identities, and this is particularly relevant now with AI, because new technology is speculated to replace what humans do, and this is the case with many new technologies, including AI. I'm a visual learner, and I would like to see our profession as an arch, our practice as an arch for clinical education and research, where all the different areas of practice are one. But then I feel there are three pillars of what we do when it comes to our professional identity. And the first one, which aligns with the do no harm principle of healthcare provision, is patient safety. Then it's image quality or therapy quality for those who might be therapeutic radiographers, of course, but here we are in breast imaging, so image quality is important. And then patient care and patient-centeredness. And the core dimensions of radiographer's role identity are technology and patient care. This is a dual role, which is, first of all, the solid command of scientific technology in a technical working environment, but we can call it technical care, and mastering the humane, humanistic work, humanistic care. I asked probably 2 or 3 years ago, my undergraduates, my year 3, these are our final year undergraduate radiography students in the diagnostic program. And I asked them, I would like you to add up to 5 values of what guides your practice and what will guide your practice when you graduate. They were in very near the end, just before graduation in the classroom. And I'm immensely proud of them because, as you can see in the screen, they use a lot of values like loyalty, helping others, honesty. The font size of the value means the frequency of mentioning that from the students. So loyalty got most votes, honesty, helping others, integrity, respect, responsibility. So all of these things, competence, all of these things came up, and I was really, really proud because I was thinking, this is a nice workforce we're preparing, and I'm sure the same feeling of pride lies with other educators in radiography. So I would like to speak more about AI, and you might have seen all these very technical definitions for AI, and then machine learning and deep learning, which are different levels of expertise and different types of machine learning and AI. I'm not going to go into these titles. I just want to put them on the screen, but I want to give my alternative definitions, if you don't mind. So I would like to say that AI is about standardizing medicine and healthcare diagnosis and treatment based on predictions from observed patterns in populations. And it's about integrating maths into medicine. So very often medicine for many, many years has been symptomatic, and we're trying to cross from symptomatic to predictive and preventative. So maths can help us do that because they can find patterns and predict. It's also about increasing accuracy and customization of patient care by using big data, so big that a human brain cannot contain them and recall them with certainty. So you use a machine, and creating another powerful tool that learns on the go for clinical practitioners. This is a visual of how AI, machine learning, and deep learning are related. So I think I would like you to remember that and the alternative definitions which speak to our profession. The publications on AI in the last few years, and now even more so in 2025, have skyrocketed. And you can see here in the screen that radiology below at the bottom of the screen is one of the two disciplines alongside general medicine that have the most publications. And this is not by chance, it's because radiology deals with large amounts of data, and AI is like a data hungry monster, so it feeds on that data. There is also a lot of scaremongering in the news. You might hear about whether a robot will steal our jobs, that computers are killing us, it's going to be the end of the world, robots will destroy a huge number of jobs. So all of these things, and also things about education for those who work in universities, that AI is clear and presents a present danger to education. So there's a lot of scaremongering. Some of these things have a basis, but technology is a tool. I mean, AI is like any new technology. And the way it's going to affect us depends on how we're going to use it. In the same way that you can use a knife to put butter on your bread, but also you can use a knife to kill someone. So the knives are not bad per se, it's how we use them. But what I would like to speak to you about is this AI. And this AI was on a study published in 2023 that identified cancer in the breast 5 years before it became visible to the human eye. So basically, this is the kind of preventative AI that can help identify or project disease in the future and allow us to modify the factors that are modifiable, like diet or exercise or other things, and allow for early intervention to prevent the development of a disease. And this is the kind of AI that is exciting and potent. The way AI works and the uptake of AI varies by modality. You can see MRI and CT alongside ultrasound monopolizing the top of the top graph, and then brain, cell, lung, and breast being the top applications when it comes to body systems, because of the research in neurology that produces masses of data, cell because of research in biology, lung and breast because of screening programs. So for mammography, it is a very big thing, AI, because we produce masses of data, and breast imaging in general. So this variability, as we said earlier, is driven when it comes to the uptake of AI and AI implementation adoption, first of all, by the availability of data. So you will get more applications of AI in screening programs like breast. Healthcare priorities, and we saw an explosion of COVID-19 AI-enabled applications for diagnosis 5 years ago. Local population demographics. So if there is an incidence of pathologies in a specific type of population or minority of population, then you will see that there will be more data from that pathology in that population. So you will have to optimize and train your data on your AI system for that specific pathology and population to ensure you have high accuracy. Interest from industry is also a driving force, but industry works with cost-benefit analysis, so feasibility versus costs and risks. So all of that has to be taken into account. And of course, and very, very importantly, when we speak about AI implementation, AI adoption, it's about acceptability of these new techniques, AI, machine learning by practitioners, and there's a huge role of education and training to get us AI ready very, very soon. There are different functions. This is a lovely paper by Professor Marianne Hardy and Dr. Hugh Harvey back in 2020. It was early 2020, just before COVID-19 started. It was January 2020. I remember that. And AI affects the whole patient pathway, from patient checks to planning, which includes selection of protocols, scouts, slice positioning, patient positioning, volume planning, contrast events, to acquisition, automated acquisition, dose reduction, scan time reduction, quality assurance, to image post-processing, where it actually has a lot of applications already. And in particular, in radiography and medical imaging, it has been hailed as a very important decision support tool for diagnosis in clinical cases and screening, but also to establish normality. And then for workflow and appointments, so AI is promising to minimize non-shows in screening programs and throughput optimization by prioritizing who might need to go first. Patient safety, there are some papers now speaking about AI being used for radiation dose reduction, MRI safety checks for different implants, request vetting and ID confirmation. Image quality optimization, data acquisition, data post-processing, registration and segmentation of images. And this is actually an area which is very active and very, very much, is driving the innovation for AI models. We spoke about image reporting and interpretation as core business, and of course, patient care, patient positioning, follow-up examinations, and longitudinal studies. There are many gains, or let's say many promises for gains from AI. They don't always materialize because AI implementation is a complex thing. But these promises speak about improved efficiencies, improved saving time from mechanistic tasks and workflows. And actually, this is where the majority of the studies shown has improvements, really graspable improvements. Then efficacy, clinical efficacy and quality of services, things like minimizing discrepancies from operators, reproducibility of scans, customization of the examination, post-processing and interpretation for a specific anatomy and patient demographics, patient experience, which is about standardizing patient safety processes, interoperability, customizing the examination based on individual needs and preferences, and minimizing failed or repeat scans. And finally, more AI developers, more AI companies, whether the large manufacturers or the AI startups and SMEs, they start to turn their attention to staff well-being and basically say, we're going to use AI actively, not just reducing workload, but also optimizing the shifts and the rotas, taking into account individual staff profiles. For instance, if someone is a student or someone with caring commitments or someone who might be fasting. So we have to have the best rotas possible to get the team, have a better work-life balance, improve staff retention and reduce attrition. I would like to go on, but I guess there are also many threats from AI, not always materializing again, but there are, very real threats, things like automation bias and over-reliance on AI, which can lead to de-skilling. If you rely on AI a lot, you forget your skills and your competencies, and it impacts your performance. It's not very clear to us yet how, when AI and humans interact, the handover between human and computer, for instance, and the communication. There's still lack of transparency, although there are efforts to try and make it a bit more transparent when it comes to the AI models, how they work and how we can optimize them, and particularly when they fail, because AI can fail. And this lack of transparency and black box culture, as they call it, only creates lack of trust for AI. And finally, patients not universally accept AI, and the same accounts for staff. And it's important to ensure that we build trust before we introduce AI and we educate people, both patients and clinical practitioners. I still believe, despite all of these things, that AI offers a unique opportunity to rethink, reimagine, and optimize healthcare if we get it right, to have fairer, more efficient, more effective healthcare with better patient experiences and enhanced staff well-being. Many people use AI, or they claim to use AI because they feel it's fancy, it's the new kid on the block, and everyone wants to be in fashion. But actually, AI is not about fashion; it's about real clinical needs. And for those of you who are clinical, I would say you need first to find a clinical problem or challenge or need to solve, and then try and find the right AI for it. It's very easy when we go in conferences to see a lot of solutions and to feel confused and excited at the same time. But the most important thing is to look at our practice, and this accounts for all types of practice, clinical, academic, research, and then go back and think about the actual need and the actual problem we want to solve, and then try and find the AI. There are many problems when it comes to technological infrastructure. And although we want to speak about advanced AI models and great promises for efficacies and efficiencies, very often in certain parts of hospitals, people struggle to get good connectivity, and there are problems with that. So we have to walk before we fly. So it's important to ensure that we have all the infrastructure, which includes digitization of healthcare, connectivity, good quality data, security, before we can actually speak about implementation of AI. Acceptability and trust, we discussed about that. There's a role for education and governance, and I'm going to speak about those two in particular later on. And of course, funding these new healthcare models. There can be no AI without proper investment, because at the beginning of implementing AI, in most of the cases, the real life scenarios, and I'm sure Gerald is going to speak about that, there needs to be some investment. It needs to be some patience, and there is a steep learning curve for everyone. And it might take a bit longer before it takes a bit less. We have written something, this is not an academic paper, but you will see more academic papers coming later on with Professor Mark McEntee about the integration of AI in radiography practice. And we identified 10 priorities from prior literature. Of those, training, governance, trust, and patient-centeredness, they are the most important to keep us grounded and to ensure we are informed. I'm going to speak most about training and governance, but you can have all the others here. I would need probably more than 2 hours to speak about everything in great detail. So patient-centeredness is relating to our professional identity. And because we reduce the scanning time, we all think that, oh, great, reducing the scanning time, it will give us more time back from the radiographer to have a proper break, to be able to eat their lunch, to be able to have a comfort break, in a busy hospital, but also more time to care, more time to be with the patient, more time to listen to them, and to be able to customize the examination. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work like that, because we have waiting lists and we want to reduce this waiting list. So the time has to be judiciously used to both reduce waiting lists and ensure staff and patient well-being and care. But what we should avoid is the efficiencies in time to be used for more patients in all the occasions without consideration of the human aspect of imaging, which is both the staff and the patient, and to not allow to go into conveyor belt medicine. I know many times we feel that, but I think we need to resist that. And I guess there is a huge role for the managers to do that. Thankfully, in this part of the world, at least, because in Asia, they have robots to take care of humans. But in this part of the world, the importance of the human touch remains a human privilege. I think all of us, when we have had a scan as patients or family has had a scan, what we really value is not the fancy technology. Of course, we like that for good outcomes, but we really value the human touch and the tap on the shoulder, and perhaps someone who might, listen to us and listen to our worries during that time. Trust is really important. I mentioned that. So as we prepare for AI, we need to know more about it through education and training, to have clarity about AI through explainability and not black box culture, and to have safety through governance networks. And there is increasingly more governance now. The EU AI Act has been signed last year in September, and now there is the UK AI bill, which is currently going through the system in the UK to try and get something which is actually locally enforceable. Now, when it comes to training, back in 2021 with Claire and some more people from the AI working group that I was chairing, we were discussing about the lack of education in the UK and the lack of competencies and skills for radiographers. And this is actually now changing slowly. It's changing because there are many more courses. One of those courses is our course at City St. George's. We started in 2020, and this year it's the 6th year running. It's running next week. The deadline for applications has passed now this year, but you can see how we merge theory and practice. We are doing computer labs as well as didactic lectures and class discussions, and we also have a lot of online tutorials. It's a multidisciplinary course where we have lots of staff that teach, including Gerald here, that teach in this course. So we have radiologists and radiographers and computer scientists and psychologists. So it's a nice course which is accredited by the College of Radiographers for 5 days in early November every year. This is the deadline. Then this course was accredited and was evaluated, and it receives excellent student evaluation scores for 6 years running. 4.9 out of 5 is our best marked course from the students. And this is the paper that documents the widest evaluation from radiographers who attended that course. You might have seen, we have a new AI textbook. I'm really proud to have worked with some amazing women in radiography to have developed 15 chapters and more than 300 pages, which is a book that is about AI for radiographers, which summarizes a lot of our learnings, also from the last 6 years of the course, but also collectively, the 4 of us, we have more than 100 years in radiography career, and many of those were spent in AI. So it's out now ready for pre-ordering. When it comes to governance, 4 years ago, we have developed the first guidance by the SOR, and it was published both on the purple color, which was under the Society and College of Radiographers 100 years anniversary, but also on the right-hand side as an academic publication with everyone who was working in the AI working and advisory groups. We have also participated in developing a new standard for BSI for the UK for responsible healthcare. It's called British Standards BS 30440, and it outlines different stages of the AI life cycle. Energies England Digital Transformation Service, they have an amazing website which is quite interactive and informative, all-in-one platform working developments from idea conception to realization. So for those who want to develop AI and test it. We have also developed a unified AI governance framework, doing research in published literature and grey literature, academic and grey literature. And we identified these 7 values of AI: validation and evaluation, regulation, legislation and ethics, auditing and quality assurance, research and innovation, training of staff, public patient practitioner involvement, and leadership and staff management as key determinants for moving AI governance forwards and also accelerating AI implementation. This was the paper here, published in the British Journal of Radiology in 2023. And the specific categories that we mentioned before, they appear here on the top of the screen as green, and the subcategories below them. It's all open access for all of you to watch and to read. So nothing is not behind a paywall. We also run our research group and our areas of activity. So we intensify our expertise around AI, and we speak about AI literacy, and we do things around literacy, as you have seen: AI governance, ethics and regulation, AI implementation in radiology and radiography, AI impact on professional identity and careers, and a new PhD student works on AI leadership. We currently have more than 50 peer-reviewed papers just in this field of practice, and there are more on the way from our amazing PhD and postdoctoral students. Some of these papers are here. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just putting them here for your reference, and I can send the slides to Noel if you would like to follow more. One paper in particular that was really important because we did it in a multidisciplinary survey in the UK, including radiologists, radiographers, and medical physicists, has shown that the priorities for AI adoption per profession are different. So on the left, you can see radiographers, in the middle, you can see radiologists, and on the right, medical physicists. And while the radiologists, with a big difference, they identified AI leadership as important to manage adoption for medical imaging, radiographers identified robust unified governance frameworks as important, and medical physicists identified guidance and standards. And every different profession used different frameworks in AI implementation depending on their scope of practice. We have also worked with more than 45 people here to outline the importance of multidisciplinary work with all agencies and with the patients at the center. And we identified this AI ecosystem when it comes to who works around the patients. And the public contributors are in the center with patients, families, carers, and the public, and all the other professionals and agencies around. This is also a published paper in JMIRS and received the Editor's Choice Award for 2024 as a commentary. So I would like to finish to say that our future with AI really relies on our readiness. This is a new era for radiography, for mammographers, and for breast imagers, and it's going to be technology enabled. We cannot turn back. What we need is governance, regulation, and ethics to ensure trust and acceptance by practitioners and patients. We have to work together with other disciplines and follow a multidisciplinary approach and multi-agency approach, and have no fear about it. If you know through education, you will understand that AI is coming towards us, and learning about it is not an option, but is a professional responsibility. Everything we do is for our patients, so everything has to be around our patients, and we need to understand the new strategic leadership models. While our values and professional identity remain the same, our tools will be changing, and we have done that many times before as a profession. I would like to thank everyone at BSIG and also Noel for the great invitation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina. What a fantastic presentation, and something that I think resonates with all of us here. You know, AI, I really like the analogy of the butter knife, Christina, and that the different uses, because it isn't, the scaremongering is there, and if you aren't educated in how AI can be implemented appropriately, it's something that it needs to be prioritized, education around AI. Please, and this is an invitation to everybody, if anyone would like to pop a question in the chat or even speak, please just raise your hand. It'd be wonderful to get some interaction tonight. I know there are many questions we all have. I know something that I think will, focusing now on radiography, really, Christina, in breast imaging, I think the technical recall and technical repeat rate within breast imaging, I think that would be something that would be really something we can implement and support that patient-centered and patient-focused care on the spot, alongside obviously the skill set of the radiographer or assistant practitioner taking the images. So we really look forward to seeing how that implements it with image quality. How in the wider field of radiography, Christina, how is it being implemented at the moment?
Yeah, I think this is an amazing idea, particularly for a fast-paced modality like mammography. You have to
Yes.
do it very quickly. What I would like to say is AI is not infallible and it's not a panacea. So what is really, really important to know is AI is quite contextual in the specific equipment and the specific patient demographics and how you do stuff locally. So my advice for that would be to very carefully ensure if you get something, an algorithm that works for technical recalls and to avoid, sending someone away without having the right image quality, is to ensure that you do proper validation and testing of the results in your specific equipment and environment and hospital. People think that if something has worked in another environment, it will work in their environment as well. This might be true for probably 80% of the cases, but for many cases, changes of equipment or of policies or of staff is changing the results. So I think it's quite important to fine tune it with the local, with the local policies and stuff and equipment and infrastructure to ensure you get good results. So I would like to say that AI is not infallible and it relies on us to customize it for our environment.
Yes, yeah, definitely, definitely. I know it'll be a very interesting time. And as you say, Christine, I think mammography, because of that reproducibility to an extent, it's a good area yeah, that it will implement well. Thank you. I'm so surprised, but we have Gerald, Professor Lip, please.
Oh yeah, Christina's perfectly right there, and I think calibration is quite an important thing because when we were setting up AI working in our practice, we had to do different levels of what we call thresholding or calibration. And if you have something that's maybe calling your TRs and calling it too many back, you're gonna have to tweak it along the way. Eddie Gibson, who's in Armagh, he has experience with fracture AI, and what he did there again, they had a fracture AI, they put in a new fracture AI, and it went a bit wonky and started calling a lot more stuff back from A&E, and they noticed it through there on the fracture side of things. So again, then they had to feedback and calibrate that. And we've had the same with chest X-ray AI, where initially it was overcalling mediastinums. I'm not sure why, but it just was a problem with it. So again, we had to tweak that threshold and bring it down. So it's local sort of changes to yourself there.
Yeah, to suit the different needs of the department. I know it looks like my hand is up, but that is my colleague, Paula. Paula, what's your question?
I'm just wondering, do you think one of the biggest obstacles is ethics and where responsibility lies?
Thank you very much. Is this a question for me or for Gerald or for both of us, I guess?
Well, both. Well,
Both. Yes. I mean, many people say that governance is what keeps us behind because when we're not clear about the governance, we won't do things. I do think it's one of the big obstacles. And I was recently in a health foundation day for the AI in the NHS, and actually their studies and their reports highlighted that governance is what is seen as the biggest obstacle by clinical people. So I think if you ask different people, you might find different obstacles again and different professionals. But I really think that until this is clarified, the new EU AI Act is very generic, very generic. So we will need the professional bodies and probably the working groups to define specific guidance for each domain based on the guidance that we have in the UK. The EU AI Act gives some pointers, but it does not make things very explicit. So I really think people still need more guidance, which is specific to their domain.
Thank you. Thank you, Paula. Alice, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, for the governance end of the spectrum, if in breast screening the AI software misses a cancer and it goes through and it comes as an interval cancer for us, then who takes that responsibility? Is it the AI software company, or is it us because we've adopted it into our system? So I think that's like a really important thing to understand before we end up adopting it within our service.
I have a lot of thoughts for that. I think the best person to ask for that is Gerald. But Gerald, if you allow me to say a quick comment, I mean, it's not very clear. There are many gray areas for the accountability in erroneous use of AI. But if the AI equipment is used within the intended use, so basically as the manufacturer has said it has to be used, first of all, there are some, we know there are always some errors. So, mistakes happen even with human observers, first of all. But secondly, if you use it within the intended use and still it yields a mistake, then it's more the responsibility of the manufacturer than it is for the clinical practitioner. If you go beyond the intended use, then the responsibility lies more with the clinical practitioner. But if I can say, first of all, I would like Gerald to make a comment here, but also what I would like to say is that it's not very clear yet. We don't have very clear guidance on that. Thank you.
On the indemnity side, obviously, that's going to be crown indemnity for us as NHS workers. So whatever happens, even if there was a miss, it will come under the NHS to cover that legally because they have purchased a product. And that's why the liability lies there. The post-market surveillance, as Christina covers really well in her textbook, which I recommend everybody buy, and she'll give a signed copy to anyone who wants to buy it now, is a huge undertaking to write textbook, by the way. It's crazy hours to do it, and she's probably lost hair on that as well and everything, but she's getting it all back now. But yes, it's post-market surveillance is very important, and we are lucky in screening because we've got really good screening systems that will take the AI opinions and show any variants. Other specialties not as lucky as us, so we have very tight controls in the screening services. I'll talk about a bit later in my talk after this. You're on mute, Noel.
Thank you, Gerald. Sorry. Gerald has also co-authored the AI implementation chapter in the textbook. This is going to be an excellent textbook. This is looking forward to getting it now. Please, can you write down the book name? No problem, Zainab, but we can pop it in the chat there. We can pop a link, a PayPal link even, maybe. That would work well. Lovely. Well, let's move on then, shall we? Professor Lipp, I'll move over to you. I just have a little bio here to another question or oh yes, just one more. So Verica has asked, we as film readers have to read 5,000 mammograms per year. Yes. If AI was to replace one of the readers in half our workload, this could lead to de-skilling. Oh, I'll cover in my talk. Looking forward to it. That leads us very nicely then, Verica, into Professor Lipp's presentation. So for those of you who don't know, but I'm sure you do, Professor Gerald Lipp is the Clinical Director for Breast Screening in the northeast of Scotland and leads innovation in the NHS as a Chief Scientist Officer Innovation Fellow. He is Principal Investigator of the Gemini Prospective Evaluation of Mammography Artificial Intelligence, supported by the NHS National Strategy for AI in Health and Social Care. Professor Lipp serves as Vice Chair of the BSBR, sits on UK and National Informatics Committees, and advises both the Centre for Doctoral Training for Biomedical AI at Edinburgh University and the National COVID Chest Imaging Database. He is widely published on AI in breast screening, real-world evaluation and patient engagement, and has played a pivotal role in advancing radiology education and AI adoption in clinical practice. And I've just found out tonight as well that he is a Trinity alumni from Dublin as well. So I knew I liked Professor Lipp. So fantastic. Over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just emailed the alumni office today because it's our 25th anniversary coming up next year, and our class WhatsApp group is like, are we going to get drunk in Dublin? Yeah, let's go for it. Have a good night. Christina, thanks for the introduction and laying the foundation. It's often hard to do that sort of starting bit. And now I'll just bring, because we're a group of breast imagers, the breast imaging context into the AI and a little bit of a run around of what's going on with AI in the UK. So just checking slides are okay, Noel, and you're able to see as I move along? All okay there?
Yes.
Brilliant, yeah. So the real question is, as is in the chat, am I going to be reading like this in future? Is AI going to take one of those the second reader away or the first reader away? Are we going to have a different way of reading mammograms? And I think it's interesting because we can answer this question throughout the next few slides as we come through. As Christina has indicated in the beginning, AI is mathematical. It looks through the images. It's trained on 1 million images, and it will say, "I'll give you a probability score." And based on the probability score, again, the tumors can be anywhere in mammograms. As you and I know as screen readers, you read your 5,000 mammograms, there's only about 30 to 40 cancers spread out throughout that pile. And I've gone days where I've gone, I can't find a cancer. I've been reading a whole day, and Alice is next to me as well in our center up and everything. And we were going, this is a dry patch, or this is a good patch. We're getting through things. So, and then suddenly you get a stream where you're recalling 10 in a row. So it's the randomness there. But if you had AI, you could have a way of triaging the cases. You could then say, wow, you can start moving all the high, intermediate, or positive percentage cases, so higher probability cases, into one pile, and the normals into another pile. So you start getting more efficient workflow and sort of seeing things as they come through. This is what we had in the past. So everyone I can see on this call is young. I'm old, but because I'm old, I have gone through CAD before. And on the left, you're going to see something called CAD, which is all these triangles everywhere. And that was computer-aided detection. So that was old AI, or first-gen AI, which Professor Gilbert did the initial studies in Aberdeen and Manchester called CAD-AT, and Cadet 1 and Cadet 2. And again, they showed that the recall rate was okay, but it was because it was showing everywhere, lots of triangles. But nowadays, with the machine language models that we have in AI, it's much more specific. So it's sensitive and specific at the same time. Instead of getting 20 triangles where you turn off the CAD because it's just a waste of time, you're getting 1 or 2 triangles in a specific area with a percentage score. And in this AI's case, even characterization saying, hey, this thing's got mass, it's got calcifications. Our worry is 8 out of 10 on this one. So already you're getting much more information from the AI. It's much better as well. And we'll show some later data about how effective it is. So some really baseline facts that you need to know. The current AI models are all fixed. So your opinions or your answers are not teaching an AI. It's not learning on the fly. It's like Windows versions, and they're just software versions that come through. Most CE mark models are CNN based, which is the computer vision models. They're not large language models. The current AI you're seeing in mammography that Christina's talking about so far in all the examples of reducing your tech recalls or optimizing your appointments, those are all computer vision based, the reproducible results. They're not ChatGPT where you have hallucinations or change. And these are all CE marked models where there are about 1,000 over CE marked models, 80% of them in radiology. The ones that are LLMs, none of them are CE marked currently because they cannot give us that medical level of reproducibility of results. And most AI models currently can only look at the images that are presented. They can't look at priors. So already AI is at a disadvantage to us. And I'm setting up Alice's talk for a bit later on because it can only see the images there. It can't compare priors. It doesn't have information about symptoms. It doesn't have information about family history or risk or anything. It's only telling you what's on the pictures there. So already it's not going to be as good as we are, say, in the prevalent or incident round. So we went and asked our participants in Aberdeen, and this has been replicated in further studies in Europe and elsewhere. And most women actually, and these results are similar, are pro-AI. So if you go and ask the participants in screening, would you like to have AI in the process? They will say yes, as long as there's a human in the loop. And it's perfect because in breast screening, there's 2 humans reading. So if you have 1 human reading and 1 AI, it's acceptable to our participants in screening. Christina said again, it's very important to have patient and public involvement. When she and I write grants and we apply for things, PPIE, patient involvement, is number 1. If you don't have that, you're not getting any grant funding. So, and it's key because you want to have the members of the public involved and giving you feedback there. We do reach out. This is in the Aberdeen Science Centre where you have 6-year-olds to 12-year-olds because everyone's infected by AI, whether it's pediatric fractures or their mums having cancer. So it affects all levels of population when we do our outreach. Through the BSBR, British Society of Breast Radiology, we did a survey, and we went with support as well from the SOR and SBRF, the Scottish side. And we asked the readers in this paper, and actually even then, and you can see the date here is 2022, most already, even before, this is the early days of AI, most of us had a positive view of AI, but we did want some explainability, we needed a region of interest, we needed some answers, and most participants had qualms, but most were saying, well, if one of the two readers is replaced with AI, they're kind of okay with that. This is work from Fiona Gill's group in Cambridge, and she tested in a retrospective set. So looking in the past, she looked at a big chunk of mammograms, and this was the pink is the first reader, and you see DL1, DL2, DL3. These are different algorithms, and each of the AIs are picking up different things. So most of them picked up cancer, maybe 90% overlay. But just like you and I, first reader and second reader, hits and misses, the second reader was picking up different things from the first reader. And here, multiple algorithms are picking up different things as well. So again, this brings up that not all AIs are the same. An AI might be better at picking up dense breast tissue cancers, or better at picking up lobulars or grade 3s. So we need to have some testing and validation and follow these through to see which AI works best for us. Will an AI that works really well in Aberdeen work as well in London with a different ethnicity and population? We can't answer that quite yet. These are three different AI companies, and because this is a specialist breast imaging group, I use this slide because the general group, it will just glaze over. Whereas with you guys, I know that you will get this fully. And these are different AI companies. And if you look at the scores there, if it says it's normal, which is a 0 score, K-score 0, or 0 to 10, which is this basket that is in, or K-score 1, so that's where it's saying it's very normal. The number of cancers missed is 1 in 8,000 in the bottom one on the right, 1 in 3,000 in the one on the top, and 1 in 1,200 in the one on the left there. So if you look at that, AI is pretty good when it says it's normal. So it's when it says it's normal, and the one on the bottom right especially, it's only missing 1 in 8,000 cancers. One cancer in 8,000 normal mammograms. If you think about our hit and miss rate when you do your second reader audits, we miss about 0.5 to 1 per thousand. So when AI says it's normal, it's actually doing better than humans on these measures, and these are all from big trials. Whereas if you look at the bottom score, the 76 to 100 in the first area, the 10, which is the highest score, and you see there, so that means that when the AI gives you a score of 90% certainty, it's 1 in 14 are cancers, or 1 in 27 in the other red circle, or 1 in 24. Whereas if you or I, in the Scottish system, we have a different system to the NHS BSP, we do a tick called FT for fast track. So when we think there's a cancer, we tick that FT, fast track box, checkbox. And I think we've done audits and we can show that 8 in 10. So pretty much when I say it's cancer, we're about 80 to 90% correct that it's going to be a fast track cancer when we biopsy. Whereas here again, you're seeing that there's more false positives. So when the AI gives you a score of 90%, it's only right 1 in 10 or 1 in 15 times. And that is because it can't look at priors, as I said earlier, or sometimes Alice will explain some of her examples later. There are other confounding things that it seems to do that we can't explain why, but that's probably from the training of that AI. Prospective studies. So what's happening? Because this is the theme of the talk. What's happening in the UK and around the world? So these are the big studies that have been published. This is real life AI that's been in practice. The first one is Priam, and this is in Germany with a company called Vara, and they have done 400,000 over cases already. I call this the everything everywhere all at once AI because basically they said to all the readers, AI is available, press the button if you want to use it, and they split the group that pressed the button and used it, and the group that didn't use the button, and the group that used AI had an increase in cancer detection of almost 18%, and there was no change in the recall rate. So that's pretty good from the German point of view. And Masai is the trial that made headlines around the world. This was where you had a randomized control trial. So this is a proper prospective RCT, and it was split into two groups, 50,000 women with normal 2 human readers, and the other half with 1 AI and 1 human. the AI in the human arm picked up 29% more cancers, and they had a very small increase in the false positives and recall rates, and they had an efficiency savings because there was one AI and one human of 44% less reading. So they were pretty happy because they got a lot more time for coffee. Screen Trust CAD is a different one that limited the recall rate. So they will only have the recall rate lift up a little bit, and that increased their cancer detection by 4% there with AI. And then our wee study in Aberdeen, which is called Gemini, had 11,000 women. And that was a safety net study. So where AI said that was where we had said as readers, this was fine. We don't think there's anything there. And we called it normal. So we clicked the normal button on BSP. We then activated the AI, and the AI said, can you have a second look at some of these cases? And Alice will show you the pros and cons of that later on. And we found 10% more cancers. And we simulated that actually, if we had replaced one of the humans with AI, we would have 36% less reads to do, which given that at the moment we're 2 weeks behind on our routine reads, it would be quite useful to turn that AI on now and then automatically read half of them. But that's currently what's happening in prospective studies that have reported already. And this is an example of one of the cases that we use with our extra reader pickup. So you can all see dense breast tissue, cause benign calcification at the bottom on the left. And is there anything in that breast tissue? Very difficult on a computer screen on a Teams presentation. So I'll give the next slide, and the AI circle that area there, and I'll zoom it up, and you can see some microcalcification in dense breast tissue in this lady who's first screening, 50 years old. We did a biopsy, high-grade DCIS with about 2 to 3 millimeters of invasive cancer. So this is someone we had said was routine recall, but the AI helped us to find the additional cancers there. She would have come back for 3 more years. And this was a grade 3, so it would have multiplied and got bigger and bigger in that dense breast. And because it's so dense, you probably may not have felt it grow over that time. So this was a good pickup, but there are caveats which we can talk about, which Alice is going to talk about at the end of this to give us a bit of balance. So it's not pro AI, super AI. Yeah, we love it all too much in her talk. So this made some interim results were reported. We got some good headlines on the newspaper. And our final paper has actually been submitted to a different journal. And along with the additional cancers detected, we showed several different workflow pathways where we sort of said, well, if you have a second reader but reading in different ways, we could model where we could have a balance between cancer detection and humans being autonomous. But anyway, that's going to come out forward in the next paper soon. So real life use. Is anyone really using AI at the moment? Well, our friends in Copenhagen, in Norway, in Copenhagen, Denmark. And so in Denmark, they are using a different AI. And before AI implementation, 60,000 women, the recall rate 3.09%. The Scandinavians really recall very low rates, 7 per 1,000 cancers. After they turned on the AI, so this was using it the Maasai style, one human and one AI, because Copenhagen, Denmark had real problems with recruitment. Not many, they don't have extended radio roles like we do in the UK. So it was only radiologists, and not many radiologists were choosing to go into breast screening and breast radiology. So they really were burning out, and they had a desperate need. So they said, we're turning it on. And they had one human and one AI instead. And they have had good results. The recall rate has dropped. Cancer detection rate has gone up. This was last year's data. They're now up to 150,000 from that 58, and those numbers are holding. So I expect another paper that will be showing soon. And straight away, their workload has decreased by 33% because they've taken away the normals from the second reader. So in future, what's happening around the UK, and I think quite a few of you will be involved in this because this is the EDIF trial. Nearly 700,000 women across the UK, 30 centers, at least 4 or 5 different AIs across a central platform, which will be run over the next 3 years. West Streeting announced it earlier this year. We've signed a contract with NIHR about 2 months ago, And at the moment, Cambridge and Warwick are the leading this with Fiona Gilbert and Professor Phillips, Sean Taylor Phillips, and the centers are being enrolled. As some of you who work with NBSS know, it's a bit of a clunky old system, and there's a lot of computer stuff that needs to go on in the background to make NHS BSP compatible with this AI trial. And so that's continuing. You will see probably more about this in the next year as it comes around the UK. Scotland is entering this trial as a country, so all 6 centres in Scotland will be enrolled into it, and we hope to contribute 200,000 women to this trial. We are on a different IT system to England and Northern Ireland and Wales, so it's a slightly more modern. So hopefully we'll be able to enable ourselves a bit better, and that will use a central platform. There will be 3 arms in this trial. So you have your control arm, you'll have the 1 human and 1 AI arm, and then you'll have the arm where both readers will have access to all the AI opinions, and we'll see which way works best. Part of that trial will also involve education, also outreach with the women, and especially the women who opt out. And we'll be looking at aspects such as socioeconomic deprivation, ethnicity, and the effect and the effectiveness of AI as well across this group of population. So I think it's very screening memo, and I think I run conferences in breast as well, and there are always people, what about us in symptomatic? So breast AI ultrasound. So that's an area that's coming in, and we have been evaluating a tool, and what we have looked with the breast AI ultrasound tool, because actually you and I, Alice, we're pretty good at breast ultrasound. So if we see a cancer or we see something, we're just going to biopsy it. So the use case that we're looking at here is actually fibroadenomas, and whether we can use AI to effectively say this is benign, doesn't need a biopsy, sort of in the way people are trying to use elastography as well. So watch the space. We've collecting the data, and we're up to 44 that under 35 that look like no biopsy lesions and have come back as benign as well. Just have to convince our surgeons now. So step by step, we have to work one group at a time to get through that. Genius AI. So this is a 3D mammograms. So again, some of your centers were taken part in the Prospects trial, which is 100,000 women in the UK with screen reading using 3D tomo. And I think some of the feedback I've heard is, oh my God, if I have to do 3D tomo reading for my current breast screening reading, we will never finish it. It'll take so long to read 128 mammograms instead of 4 mammograms every day for 5,000 women a year. So I think that's the question is, can we use AI? Can we use other tools there? This is being used in several symptomatic units now in the UK, in Wales, as well as in Leeds with Dr. Sharma. So there's more data coming on 3D AI, and we'll see what happens in that field as well. There is AI in MRI. There's AI being developed in contrast mammos, but again, early days for those ones, because as Christina has said earlier, you need data, you need good data sets, you need MRI machines that you have to harmonize that data because every MRI machine is different. Everyone has their favorite sequences in MRI. So again, it's just messy data to try and train an AI, let alone get things going. Our friends in pathology. So pathology is the next sort of growth area beyond radiology. And again, they're moving to digital too. So their slides are being scanned now. And immunohistochemistry, H&E, these are things to then sort of look and see whether we can apply AI to those tools to get your scores and your prognosis and your prediction as well. So lots happening there. But there are important considerations, and Christina has touched on this already. Post-market surveillance, what are we going to do when we get new software? You install an AI, you take away a reader, and then it doesn't work anymore. You're not going to just rehire a second reader because that work pool is gone, that staffing group is gone. Procurement question and costs. So how much are they going to charge for that? And then data bias and diversity. A lot of data sets have been trained on Western populations, but we have a much more varied population in the UK. We're not as Scandi or changed in certain places. So we have a much greater diversity in the UK. Automation and working with humans. And this is going to be you and me, because we're going to be in this trial in the next 2 years, and we're going to be working with AI. And it's making sure that we don't get biased by the AI results, that we maintain our own objectivity and our own training. And as asked earlier about ethics as well. This is one of our early
Yeah, I think we're.
Hi.
Oh,
Not sure what's happened on my computer here.
no bother, no bother.
No
Kieran,
bother, but
thank
I'll
you.
keep going and just finish off because I was on my last few slides anyway.
Super.
Can you hear
thank
me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can. Lovely. Thank you.
Oh gosh, sorry about that. So anyway, let me get back to my slides here and ad lib on the fly because I'm good that way. Mistake. Yes. So yes, what's happening in UK? Go to the slides there. So I was on talking about. Oh, good. I'll crash my slides now as well. Yeah. So anyway, we're finishing up there by saying that there's lots of things to do with post-market surveillance and as well as monitoring and validation. And actually, not bad. The timing wise, I'm nearing the end anyway.
Perfect.
I did have a slide to say congratulations to Sam and Kirsty. Sam is now the new lead of Symposium Mammographicum, and Kirsty, I think, was on this call for an excellent presentation at the European Society of Breast Imaging, and an open invitation to anyone who wishes to come to the British Society of Breast Radiology meeting, which is later 2 weeks' time in Brighton. If you can't make it and can't get leave, come and join us in Edinburgh, and we'll give you a really good Kaylee for BSBR 2026 in November of next year. Christina, it'll be a pleasure to see you in a few weeks' time. And I'm not sure why my internet's there, but I'll come back onto my computer in a few seconds. I think I'll stop there for that because I think I've covered most of the areas anyway. There was just another slide on education, and I'll speak about it a bit later in the Q&A. I'll try and get back online, but I'll let maybe Alice take over if that's okay, Noelle.
Of course, and that's perfect. You're good on the fly. It was very slick altogether. I don't think I would deal with that. So thank you so much. I think, Alice, this a really lovely transition to what's happening in Scotland. So I have a lovely reintroduction to Alice. And thank you so much to Alice, first of all, as a peer and a colleague of the BSIG. It's fantastic to have Alice speaking tonight. Alice is a consultant radiographer and a BSIG Scottish champion at NHS Grampian Breast Services. Since specialising in mammography in 2007, Alice has advanced to become an independent breast consultant, recently completing her master's in mammography. Her expertise spans mammographic reporting, ultrasound imaging, and interventional procedures, and she is highly regarded for her commitment to education and advancing clinical practice. Alice chairs not only this BSIG, but the Scottish Specialist Interest Group as well, promoting national consistencies in breast care, and has been appointed, as I say, within this group as well. Today, Alice will present on the Scottish AI trial, comparing artificial intelligence with film reader miscancer rates. So we really welcome Alice here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Noelle. I'll just see if my slides will share. Let's have a look.
Super.
Okay, can you see that there, Yael?
Super, thank you.
Oh, perfect, thank you. Well, thanks for the introduction. I was wondering how you're going to introduce me when I've been up against the prof and also the lovely Christina, so thank you for that. So I'm going to talk to you today about the AI software application that we were trialing in Aberdeen in 2023. I've chosen a certain data set. So let's see if this slide will move. So as we're aware, we're in this AI boom, not not only with medical imaging, but with other aspects of our lives. Within the screening program, we have lots of headlines saying artificial intelligence spotted my breast cancer, very individualized, very promoting this AI software applications, which is very exciting. But as we're all aware, if we're film readers, there's much more to film reading than spotting cancers. So obviously that's our main thing that we want to do, but we also need to understand that we have to keep our recall rates low. If we were to have high recall rates, we'll be calling lots of women back and promoting a lot of anxiety within the screening service. Every week I go in and do a couple of breast screening clinics, and without fail, even before I have a consultation with the lady, if I enter the room, they'll be in tears, thinking they've got cancer before I've even examined the lady or done any extra imaging. So it's really important that we keep these anxiety levels low. So we need, as a film reader, to keep our recall rates low. We also need to have good volume reading rates. And as we talked about before, at least 5,000 mammograms a year to keep our competencies high. And we need to be confident. We do first and second reading, and in Scotland, we also do third reading through one single reader arbitrator. So we should read with a non-bias to the first reader. If not, there's no point. So we need our confidence, and that comes with experience. And we also need to make sure our miscancers are low. It's a hard thing to miss a cancer. If you're an experienced film reader, you will have missed cancers. It's part of the job, but it hurts. So we need to keep that level very low. So as we know, breast screening is the gold standard, has been for over the last 30 years, and it works. So it can detect cancers early, which gives us women the best prognosis of survival. However, having a system that requires sometimes 3 radiologists or reporters reporting 1 mammogram is not ideal. It's very labor intensive. It does maximize accuracy and it will minimize the recall rates, but that intensity of work is hard to maintain, especially when the radiologist levels are dropping throughout the UK, and retirements are set to be ongoing in the next decade. So I know in Aberdeen, in the recent years, we've lost at least 3 to retirement, and these have been very experienced radiologists that have actually set up the screening program in Aberdeen, so they're dearly missed. So what do we know about AI reporting mammograms so far? So when I started doing my dissertation, I looked at a few AI papers. A lot of them were analysing retrospective case loads of cancers in mammograms that are enriched with cancers, as opposed to the normal work ethic that we have just now, which is a lot of normals as opposed to cancers. So these large retrospective studies were just not similar to what our clinical settings are. And currently, there's no published evidence that AI would be equivalent or better than the current 2 model independent human readers. So evaluating AI as a film reader, so as I said, cancer detection rates have to be high, the recall rates low, and the miscancer rates low. And how should it be used? This has been touched upon by Gerald. So will it replace the gold standard completely? I don't think so, very unlikely. I think women like to have the human touch, and also as humans, we have reasoning. We have previous imaging, like Gerald said, and we can also reason why that there's an area on the mammogram that's slightly denser, because this lady is on HRT. Now, AI algorithm won't have that understanding, so we need the human approach as well. So I don't think it will completely replace us. Now, will it replace the first reader? Will it replace the second reader? Or could we flip it completely on its head? Maybe we should use it as recognizing normals completely and not recognizing cancers, because we're pretty good at recognizing cancers. So our normals is way above our cancers. So if we can filter out the normals, it can read all the normals, then it will save us a lot of work. But regardless of how it's used, it should definitely be scrutinized up to the same standard as the human reader. We shouldn't accept anything less. If we do, we could, you know, our QA results will be poorer, and we don't want that for the women. So our Aberdeen research data collection. So the Aberdeen software application was called MIA, and it was produced by the Kieran Medical Technologies. We had it running over an 8-month period from February 2023 to September 2023. The breast screening setting was unchanged, so we didn't know what was going on. We just read as normal, and we were blinded to the AI decision that was happening in the background. So MIA over this time period read 11,000 mammograms, and I looked at the data set of the missed cancers, so AI that had missed the cancers. So I chose a clinical audit design to evaluate the performance of AI comparing the missed cancer rates. And I wanted to know, with the missed cancers, was it the same as are people missing the same cancers, our readers, or was it better, or how did it fare, basically? And this would help inform delivery of the best care. Now, at the time that MIA was introduced to the department, we had 2 brand new film readers, radiographer film readers, and this actually worked in my favour for my clinical audit, because then I could really understand where the AI came with its missed cancers compared to brand new readers and our experienced readers. So as you can see on the graph on the right hand side, AI read 11,000. The 2 new readers underneath actually read quite a lot in the 8-month period, which was great. And then we've got the 5 experienced readers at the bottom end there. I mean, experienced readers generally don't read as much sometimes as the radiographers because they have other duties within the department. So that was that. So to simplify it, this was a diagram to represent my data set. So one arm was the AI on the right hand side there that didn't recognize any of these mammograms as having an abnormality. At the same time, the human readers pulled back the mammograms to have something, irregularity on it. We called these ladies to assessment. If a cancer was identified and proven at the assessment clinic by biopsy, then we knew that AI had missed the cancer. And if no cancer was proven and likely projectional or benign, then we found that obviously that was unnecessarily human recall. And then I analysed the data from there. So the results were, the film readers identified 238 mammograms requiring further assessment to rule out underlying malignancy, where AI evaluated the mammogram as normal. Out of the 238 women recalled, 2 did not attend their invitations for further assessment, which is kind of sad. Through review, additional imaging and core biopsies, breast cancers were proven in 12 cases by histology. 8 ladies were identified as having indeterminate B3 lesions. So as you can see in the diagram here, the majority of ladies called back were actually benign, 128 ladies. And then second off was normal breast tissue, so that's likely due to projectional artifact. And then we have our 12 malignant cases that AI missed and the 8 B3 lesions. So how does that work compared to the human readers? So in Scotland, we have a percentage that our missed cancer rates should be within. This number or this percentage was developed in 2018, where a couple of radiologists went around all the centres in screening and found the average missed cancer rate and had a discussion and made this number up. So as you can see, the experienced readers from 1 to 5 within our department at the time, and the orange bar is the missed cancers, and the red bar is the limit of your missed cancers per 1,000 mammograms read. So the experienced readers did pretty well, especially reader 5, who missed no cancers within the 8-month period, and sadly he has retired, so we miss him deeply. And the 2 new readers that you can see at the bottom of the graph there, so one of them particularly missed quite a few compared to the other reader, but still you can see they're higher than the experienced film readers. And the important number at the bottom, AI missed cancers between the 2 new reader rates, 1.1 per 1,000 mammograms read. So it looks like it's acting like a new reader in its missed cancers. So AI has missed cancers over an 8-month period to the equivalent of a new and experienced reader. AI has a higher breast cancer miss rate compared to all 5 experienced film readers, and each of these film readers had over 9 years of mammographic reporting experience. So it came between the 2 new film readers' miss rates. So this can tell us that AI is not as effective as experienced film readers when comparing missed cancer rates, and it cannot be competently used as a standalone tool within the breast screening service. So if we analyze the cancers that AI missed by presentation and grade, so on the left-hand side here, you can see parenchymal distortions, calcifications, asymmetrical densities, and ill-defined mass. So the demonstration of presentation was almost equal display. There wasn't anything that was really coming up more than anything else, but that kind of solidifies the knowledge that AI doesn't look at mammograms like humans look at mammograms. So we obviously see a pattern, however, it generates its data and knowledge through pixel strength. So that wasn't actually surprising that there was more like an equal display on presentation there. And as we can see on the right-hand side here, I also had a look at the grade of cancers that were missed. So the majority of them were actually in situ disease. So that was 6 of them. 2 were grade 1, 3 were grade 2, and 1 was a grade 3 cancer. So from this, we can see that, okay, AI has missed the cancers, but a lot of them are low grade or in situ disease, which is good. As I said, equal display of characteristics. Missed cancers by breast cancer type show 1 high grade miss, 3 moderate grades, with the remaining as low grade or in situ. And this means that 8 out of 12 cancers missed were less aggressive, which is fantastic. When I wrote this dissertation, there was limited articles out there to actually display information about biological data of the missed cancers. We shouldn't also look over the B3 lesions, especially in the age of preventative medicine. These B3 lesions within our department and within Scotland are treated as a cancer. They're all referred to secondary care, and they're either removed by a large volume device or surgical. So yeah, it also missed 8 B3 lesions. So overall conclusions, the AI software evaluated in the clinical audit could not be safely used as a standalone tool for reporting mammograms due to its missed cancer rates. And the cancer misses were the equivalent of a new film reader, and the majority of the cancers missed were low grade or in situ, which was good. AI applications should be scrutinized the same parameters as humans before safe implementation can take place. And film readers should have confidence in AI software to reduce negative bias so further failings do not take place. I think it would be really silly if we introduced a software that we weren't confident in, because we would have bias against it and it could lead to further failings, which will be detrimental to our women within the breast screening service. This study assesses a small amount of data from a much larger project, so that should be taken into account. This is just a small area that I've looked into, and the greater research, will be published soon. So what's going to happen in the near future? Well, our current film reading practice in breast screening will inevitably change. It is too much manual work for us. Our staff is reducing. We can't keep up with the numbers. So it's exciting that this AI application could be coming in to help us, but we have to be clever in which way we use it. More prospective trials are continuing, which is great. We're not interested really in retrospective trials. We want to understand what it's going to be like and look like in our current clinical settings. And the software, as we can see from other trials, is improving, which is great. We have to understand that software can be used in different ways, not necessarily focusing purely on cancers. It needs to take in all these different parameters that I've spoken about, which are extremely important, because we need to build the trust in the AI software before it can be used. I actually, the last slide is the summary of prospective trials that Gerald's already spoken about, so I don't need to go over that again. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. And if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Alice, and such important work and so well delivered. Thank you so much. It's really, really great. Lindsay, and I welcome everybody. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat. We'll go straight to your to the lovely Lindsay Lean from Scotland as well. Lindsay, go ahead.
Hi, that was excellent, Alice. Thank you very much for that, and it just gave us another perspective on this evening's topic. I just had a couple of questions. So obviously you mentioned a lot of the misses are sort of lower grade cancers, and I noticed that half of your cases were actually DCIS. Was there any, so 2 questions, was there any information on was it high or low grade DCIS, and also with regards to the DCIS and the invasive cancer rate, was there any information on the size of these lesions or areas of disease?
Lindsay, yes, there are. So I didn't note the size. Maybe that would have actually been a great thing to do, and I didn't actually think about that. But I did note the indeterminate and the rate, and I've written it down in my notes because I thought it might come up. So yes, so we had 1 low grade, which was in situ disease, 3 intermediate grade, and 2 high grade DCIS out of that. So yeah, I mean, a proportion of them were high grade. So I mean, it's a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, DCIS is still extremely important, that even if it's in situ, it needs to come out, doesn't it? So we can justify how, okay, it's not a cancer, but it's going to get there. And in the age of this preventative medicine, there's no excuses, is there? So sizing, I didn't go into all the sizing, to be honest, of the DCIS or anything like that, but that actually probably would have been a good thing to do. So apologies for that. Thanks, Lindsay.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for that.
It's interesting, isn't it, about the different areas? And I think even from my research, Alice, something that came out of my own studies was thinking about the use of AI to support reader development and learning. So focusing on, okay, reader 1's really good at picking up the lobular disease, reader 2, and maybe AI focusing on what is this type of AI algorithm good at picking up on, and then focusing a data set or an image test set for the reader to kind of like a personalized screening test set to support their education. It's just an interesting way that AI can support future learning in breast imaging. Yeah, Paula, you had your hand up.
Yeah, great presentation. I really enjoyed that actually. But I just want to, you said about it's AI reducing the workload of film readers, but do you think with the introduction of AI, it's going to limit the opportunity for future film readers?
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
With it's kind of hard from my point of view. I work in obviously Aberdeen, and we have the highest uptake in the whole of Scotland, and we've got a very small staff load. I think I don't think we're going to employ any new film readers anytime soon until we find out how much this AI is going to affect us. I don't think it's going to drop us from 5,000 mammograms a year. I think we will still be able to do that. Well, definitely in our department we will be. I, for example, read 12,000 a year. And there's lots of people that read that amount because we've got so much coming through. So I think for us, it will really help us. And I think it might be useful to actually cap it too, and that can happen. Like you can set the AI software for a certain period and to make sure all the film readers are up to scratch, and we can't drop our experience level. I mean, that's just going to be terrible for the women. So I think that's a really important area that we're just going to have to keep an eye on. But I think until we actually is implemented, we won't really understand how that's going to impact us, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yeah, and Alice, so that's 12,000 a year. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. And because there are studies that talk about the plateau, don't they? When you're reading so much, oh my goodness, you're like a machine. You are like the AI machine.
Do you sleep, Alice? Do you sleep?
No, I have a few hands up here. Donna Curlin, our lovely consultant radiographer from Northern Ireland. AI can be adjusted for required or ideal recall, but can it learn? And that is the question, isn't it? I think you can teach it, can't you? You can just keep feeding the machine. But no, Gerald says it. No. Oh, this is what. Can we, sorry, Kate, can we come back to you for a second? Gerald, can you answer Donna's question there?
They're fixed versions at the moment, so you can feedback to the manufacturer, or you can tweak the thresholds or change the calibration to certain aspects. So it can't learn because these are fixed models that are CE marked. So they go through a lot of software testing before they can be released. But you can say, you're calling me a lot of vascular, which is our experience when we were doing it. We were seeing a lot of vascular calcifications being called DCIS. And that's something you feedback to the companies with the post-market evaluation. On the education side, I think once AI comes in, the paradigm will change. It's not a fixed 5,000 that's in everyone's mind, but it's how you read. The new NHS BSP that's coming will hopefully have some ability for regional reporting as well. So it may not just think that, I'm in Belfast and I'm only going to report Belfast. At the moment in Scotland, we're debating whether we should have a national contract and report across the country. So areas that are, falling back can have help being read by other areas. And similarly, you see mutual aid happening in England. But in those days, you used to have to send the bags across. But with the new DTOS system that's coming in England, hopefully that you'll be able to have a bit more of cross-national reporting. And it's more the proficiency and time when you train with AI. Before AI came, we read the 5,000 and we knew and we were good. But after AI, you're going to have a degree of change there. And it's making sure that your AI enhanced practice doesn't de-skill you or never skill you, but you maintain your future skills as you come through. And yes, Alice reads a lot, and we really, really appreciate having her in Aberdeen.
Thank you, Gerald. Thank you for clearing it up for us. Kate, you have your hand up.
Oh yeah, yes, I do. I was just wondering if any of the centres that have trialled the AI have had any PACS problems. It's just we've had a new PACS system installed within the last few months that crashes every 5 minutes, and they've not really gotten to the bottom of it. So I'm quite anxious about introducing more complicated software into the mix.
So that's part of connectivity testing and PACS. And we, Christina, she's off already, unfortunately. She would have seen a lot of this with different implementations throughout the country. And with my wider hat in the British Institute of Radiology AI group, we see that coming through as well. Different PACS have different levels of maturity. So if you're on a certain type of PACS, it may not be able to cope with the AI as well. Some PACS, older PACS, can only host one AI at a time. So that's already a limiter. In Northern Ireland and in Scotland, we're going to have Sectra, PACS which has a marketplace like an app store, and it can work with multiple AIs at a different time. But I think in the next 5 to 10 years, the infrastructure improves. You get new PACS in that will be more resilient and help be able to work there.
Lovely, thank you, Gerald. Kate, has that given you a little bit of insight there? I think it can be complicated depending on what type of trust you're in or what AI is already implemented.
Yeah, we've got Sectra PACS, and it's it's not been great. So yeah, I don't know. Like, it works better than it did when they very first installed it, but it's still quite unstable, and like I said, it crashes relatively frequently even now.
We like Sectra. I like Sectra. Sectra works well with us. Touch wood. Oh my goodness, it was working well today. But thank you though for your question, Kate. Just moving over to the lovely Kirsty, hot off the EUSOBI train. Kirsty, do you have a question?
Thank you. Yeah, first of all, thank you to the presenters, because it's made for a fabulous discussion, and I think this is something we could talk about for days on end. But when we think about, sort of, you mentioned about the alternatives and all the different applications that we can use this for, whether it's equipment or triaging, technicals, as well as the film reading, which is what we always kind of come back to. What would your advice be to departments who are maybe looking to prepare to find ways to sort of implement AI? What would the sort of what's your advice? What would the first things you would go to look at? Because I think we're all in a position where we're all waiting for direction from, governing bodies, and we're sort of sitting on the fence waiting to be told what to do, really. But where would you start?
Most trusts are putting in AI interest groups. So usually by the radiologist in the department, along with a member of the board, you'd have people in e-health and digital and technical. And I'm seeing different scoring systems now to look and say, is this AI a good one for us? And then your digital team, your e-health team saying, do we have the capability? Do we have the resource? Is the PACS good enough as well? And then it gets down to the brass tacks of the contracting. I think that was your question. I hope I answered that correctly. And I'll quickly share the slide to go, haha, I can share this now.
Woo!
Thank you.
Oh,
Thanks, Gerald.
oh, brilliant, Gerald. That was excellent. Love it. Thank you so much. And yeah, definitely a big mention to Kirsty on her fantastic presentation at EUSOBI, and Sam Smith, our wonderful new president for SIMPMAM. Yeah, please say hello, Sam, if you can turn on your camera or your microphone.
Oh yeah, thanks ever so much for that. I really appreciate it. It's exciting, isn't it? A little nerve-wracking, but exciting nonetheless.
No, you're wonderful, Sam. It's a wonderful appointment. Just hopping over to these last few questions here. Verica says most retrospective and some prospective studies have found increase in the arbitration rates when AI was employed as one of their readers. This can be seen as counterproductive, as some units have limited time to undertake arbitrations. Any thoughts? Alice?
Yeah, that's completely correct. I think it's really important that, I mean, if the AI recall rates are lowered, then that's not going to happen as much. So we need to concentrate on that. And I think with the prospective trials that are coming out, that the AI is recognizing, or it's looking at more normals. The retrospective caseloads were cancer enriched, so it was understanding a lot of cancers, what the cancers looked like. As we know as film readers, majority of mammograms are normal, but normal comes in a lot of varying degrees in a lady's breast due to HRT implications, aging, etc., hormonal changes. So I'm hopeful that with these prospective trials that the AI will recognize normal better than it's been recognizing normal so far, in which case the recall rates will drop and then the arbitration will drop, because as you said, arbitration takes longer, and in different centres they do it differently, right? So in Aberdeen we have one arbitrator, but some people have consensus arbitrator, and so that will involve quite a number of people. So I totally agree with that, but I'm hopeful it will change.
Yeah, there's about 50-50 split around the country when we did a survey. So about half the country does consensus arbitration, and the other half does single reader arbitration currently. And I think we have to remember that every year there's new versions of this software coming that is more sensitive. So the false positive and the arbitration workload is decreasing. The other trade-off is that if you take away 3,000 second reader reads, 60% of your second reader reads from the normals, that frees up arbitration time. One thing we did have in our trial in Aberdeen, and Alice and I will remember well, is we had a guy named Ben who came with a stopwatch, and he was recording all the extra arbitrations we did. And the timing of the extra reader arbitrations, when it was pretty straightforward, there was prior or vascular, was about the same time as it took to read a second read on mammos. So the arbitration time wasn't really increased because it wasn't complex. It was like, oh yeah, there was a prior or it was previous biopsy or something that we could see, but it still took time. So that's a factor to remember.
Lovely. Verica says we have a consensus of 5 readers where she works. So, oh my goodness. Ivy, a fantastic PhD student and consultant radiographer, says Alice, and our another champion for the BSIG. Thank you, Alice, for your presentation. Interesting to see that AI had a similar cancer miss rate as a newly qualified reader, and it was very interesting. Will this affect the prospect of AI as a standalone reader? I'm just going, Scotland seemed to be way ahead of some of us here in England. As a director of screening, would you be happy to have some of us come and visit and see how it works? Oh, a trip to Scotland, I think, is on the cards.
We always, would have people in our department, wouldn't we, Gerald? We're not currently using AI though. This was just over a trial period, so just but you can come and visit us anyway. We like friends. As for the missed cancers being the same as a new reader, I think it will impact us, and it will impact. We shouldn't use it as a standalone tool at all, because if we don't trust it enough, that will bias us against it, and we don't want that happening. But as we were saying, I'm hoping with the more prospective trials that will get better, and the missed cancer rates will be lower, and like an experienced reader. I think we can't adopt it until it is showing the same standards as an experienced reader, because we don't want our quality to drop.
And to say this was just the one software we worked with here, but we are seeing evidence, if you can see the papers that are coming out of some of the other AI companies that are actually performing pretty good, almost experience level from the results. You can read through the statistics and see it there.
Interesting. Very good, Gerald. Thank you so much. We are really on the nose for time tonight, so I'll try and tie it up. We honestly, as Kirsty said earlier, we could talk all day about AI and have great discussions, and thank you so much for letting us talk and annoy you, Alice and Gerald. Thank you so much. Yeah, just to round up, thank you to everybody who's attended tonight. We had 36 members join, so that's fantastic. As I said, our next webinar is scheduled for the 24th of March, and the theme of that webinar will be circulated before the end of the year. Thank you again for everyone's time, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Lovely. All the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks, Kirsty. Thank you.